of sweeping. So she's already should be a little bit of flexion, right? As she comes through now, she starts to go into extension. And I'm going to spin her around the fulcrum. And then she goes back here, she goes back into a little bit of flexion. Right? So crosses midline, extension, and around. So the question often comes up is, do we take them to this corner on the reach when you're reaching back? Do you go back to the opposite corner? Or do you do this kind of sweeping thing around? Because I keep sit bones down on the mat, I'm really interested primarily in getting more thoracic mobility. So I'll tend to have a little smaller circumduction. Elizabeth would go all the way where her hip would come off. Go ahead and sweep. She would come all the way where the hip would come off and she'd reach back to the opposite corner. Right? And I tend to keep that down because I want to facilitate this right there.
So now if you let that hip lift, though, potentially you could create a shear force.
I'm not too, yeah, actually probably not so much because you would just roll with it. You wouldn't really create.
Unless that hip is lifting way up and away, like way up and forward.
I still wouldn't think you'd create much of a shear force. You'd have to, because it's an internal generated force. It's not like doing hundreds and then your back pop up. You're anchored through that foot, so it's not such a big deal. But I really want to get, like I said, I want to get that movement in this area, and that's why I think we don't move enough. And that's what causes neck and low back and shoulder pathology. So this is a great place. And then I use it for my manual therapy, right? So sweep through, and I'll find where do I want to get that movement. So now I can come in and I can place my thumb right where I want to get that T4, T3, T2, and come right into that place, right? And so when I feel that, I can feel where the shoulder girdle, I keep the congruency in the shoulder girdle, and that's where I want to work, right? Does that help?
Very nice.
So again, I'm not a